This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Tiger Plumbing. Whether you need to replace a faucet, overhaul your sump pump, or desludge your drains, call Tiger Plumbing. In today's world, knowing who's at your door is important. Tiger Plumbing sends you your technician's photo, estimated time of arrival, and a little bit about him or her. Hey, Sam likes fishing and camping. Cool.
The Bill and Kelly Show is recorded at Studio A at Executive Suite Squared in beautiful Hammond, Indiana. Now, here's Bill and Kelly. Hello, welcome to our show. With us today, we have the CEO of VNA in Valparaiso, Bob Franko. Welcome to our show.
Yeah, thanks. That's a lot of letters to put in one sentence there real quick.
I stumble over one syllable, so our viewers are...
They're used to it.
Yeah, they're used to it. So thank you for coming on out and to our new studios. And
yeah, it's great. This is really terrific setup.
Cool stuff, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, we're high tech now.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we thought we'd have you out and to tell us a bit about VNA, some of the services you offer through VNA, and maybe some history about the organization, how it came to be.
Sure. Yeah. Well, number one, thanks for having me out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this is
Our
really
pleasure.
great. I will take any opportunity I get to come out and talk about the VNA.
Yeah.
I'm really passionate
Bragging
about
rights,
it.
baby.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about the VNA.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, the VNA of Northwest Indiana, we're celebrating our 50th year this year. This is our 50th anniversary, and we talk about it as 50 years forward. We're going to spend some time talking about, certainly celebrating our past and the pioneers who helped build this service and, to what it's become today. But, we're just as concerned and really want to celebrate our future as well, too. So we talk about it being 50 years forward as well.
Love that.
Yeah, so yeah, we're really concerned about preserving this resource for future generations. We obviously want to look back and celebrate the past, but we also want to take this opportunity to build a good foundation for the future as well. So that's sort of our theme, is what we're looking for in this next year. And I'll share with you some cool events and things that are happening around the VNA this year. We're doing some really fun stuff to celebrate these 50 years. So
Good.
But so it's 50 years ago. We started in 1970. Group of nurses and some community people came together, really under the guidance of Laura Harding, who was our founder and first CEO for 40 years. It was really Laura's passion that helped build the VNA to what it is today. I take every opportunity I get to thank Laura for her dedication and her commitment and everything that she did to build this organization to what it is today. So I have a sense of humility and awe sitting in her chair today.
Sure.
I've worked in the nonprofit world in and around Porter County for, coming on 30 years now. So I remember working with Laura on, different community projects and being in United Way meetings and things with her, and being sort of starstruck because she still has, this great presence, and she's somebody who's very committed and passionate about what she does. And so I just remember working with her and being, like I said, sort of starstruck. So it's really an honor for me to be sitting in the chair that I am today, following in her footsteps. So we really started off as home health, back 50 years ago, and it was only recently where we stopped doing home health through really a partnership and a collaboration with Porter Hospital, where we no longer provide home health nursing. Which was the Visiting Nurse Association piece of this. The bulk of what we do now is really hospice care. And we've been doing hospice care for over 40 years in the VNA. So the organization's been around for 50 years, and we've had hospice around for about 40 years. And so that's sort of been our trajectory over the years, and the growth and how we've changed and evolved and met the needs in our community. And we've also added several other service lines that I'll share some details with you about here in a little bit. We are the Meals on Wheels provider for all of Porter County.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we serve over we have almost 200 clients on our Meals on Wheels program right now, and that number's steadily growing. We are the lifeline provider for, gosh, I think we have clients in 6 counties on our Lifeline program. That's the button that you push, that
Sure.
I've fallen and I can't get
Right.
up. So it's a national program, and I guess I think of us as sort of the local franchisee of that. So we go out and we install the equipment, we train the people on how to use it, we service it and troubleshoot with them. So we do the Lifeline services.
And as silly as those commercials are, it's really true.
It's literally
Yes,
a life-saving device.
It really
yeah.
is. I remember that's how they
Yep.
found my grandma in
Yep.
Pennsylvania. She had fallen in the bathroom and nobody knew.
Yeah, it's a great service,
It
and
is.
it's really run by our volunteers. I mean, we have a staff of almost 80 people on staff right now, but then we have this team of over 300 volunteers that have all committed to the VNA and are dedicated to the VNA that come out and help us with all of these programs.
And they are so dedicated.
Oh
We've
my
met
gosh.
some of them,
Yeah,
and they're
they're
just
terrific.
amazing.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
terrific. And then the last program, other than the hospice, the Meals on Wheels, and the Lifeline program, is our Phoenix Center. And our Phoenix Center is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year too. And it's a bereavement program for kids. And it's not just kids who have come through, our families that have come through our services, it's for really the whole community. So it's for, we call them littles and middles, for kids and teens that have experienced a loss in their family of a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, whatever. And it's really a bereavement program for kids. We don't call it
That's
therapy.
beautiful, though.
It's where they have their own little community and they get to
Right.
be normal.
They get
you
to be
know?
with other people who understand what they're going through
Right,
a little
yeah.
bit and can,
Yeah.
not feel so guilty about laughing anymore or
Absolutely,
doing things. I
absolutely,
love that.
yeah.
What a wonderful program.
It's been a really great program. We get lots of
Yes.
great feedback. We have lots of cool volunteers that come into that program. And like I said, the program's been around for 10 years now. So now we're getting these kids that are 22, 23, 25 that are coming back and contributing because they benefited
It meant
from it
so
10
much
years
to
ago.
them. Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's sort of
that's
starting to self-perpetuate
beautiful.
now, which is really cool to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I did not know about that program.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful.
Man, that is great. Because kids go through a lot. People say they're resilient, but
They are, but their
they
brains
have
aren't
a way of hiding
fully
it.
grown
Right,
yet,
right,
and,
yep.
and that can make a
Yeah.
huge difference in their
Just
life.
gives them a little boost.
So you may interact with these kids because they could be coming to the hospice center with a parent or a grandparent,
Mhm.
and that effect in itself, because part of a family, it was with a terminally ill person.
Right.
It just has this mushroom effect all over.
Sure it does.
And
What a beautiful.
yeah, so that is great.
Yeah.
So
So it's when I think about the VNA, and it's a company, it's an organization that I've known about for a long time. I mean, we used hospice services for my dad back in 2003 when he passed, and we had in-home services. So the nurses came out to us, and the chaplains and social workers and everybody came out to us. And so that's when as most people, I think their first experiences were hospice is when they, have to utilize it for a family member, and you
Right.
really start to understand the importance and the value that it has. And so it was at that point back in 2003 that I really sort of dedicated myself to wanting to learn more about this service. And I remember even saying back then, like, gosh, these people are like angels. They just sort of swoop in when you need them the most, and here they are. And they're really terrific in how they help you through this really difficult time in your life. And I hear that all the time now. Whenever I'm going out and I'm wearing my VNA swag or something somewhere, somebody will say, "Oh gosh, we used hospice, and
Yeah.
your folks were like angels."
So make sure I understand. So VNA offers in-house care as well as in-home care.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, we have our Ethel V and Arthur B Hospice Center in Valparaiso. That's a 14-bed facility where we do inpatient hospice. For anybody and everybody in the community can utilize that if that's what they desire. It's 24-hour care there. It's just that building is celebrating almost its 20th anniversary. We were one of the first when it was the Mary Bart Center through a partnership, with a nursing facility in town through Pines Village. That was 25, 30 years ago. We were one of the first, I think we were actually the first freestanding hospice center in the state of Indiana. And in fact, in the state of Indiana, there's only 7 of those centers left. Of inpatient hospice centers. There's 3 in Northwest Indiana. They're all run by the local nonprofits, from South Bend to us and to over here in Lake County. So there's only 7 of those left. They're quite a good resource for our community.
And the center in Valparaiso, where is it located?
It's right on Valparaiso Street by the post office on the north side of town,
Oh, okay.
2401 Valparaiso Street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right over, and our administration building is right around the corner there. We have a little campus there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a nice area. And how does it? All right. So, what are the connections to hospitals and so on? How does a family get a family member into the hospice center? What does that process look like?
Well, it's a tough process, right? I mean, because you just think about everything that's going on in somebody's life.
Right.
You know, when you have to make those kinds of decisions about, do we continue to be aggressive? Do we continue to look for curative measures? Or is it time for us to think about quality of life at that point?
Right.
And so it's really sort of it's a tough process to go through for family members. It's a tough process to go through for providers too.
Sure.
Providers aren't trained to do this piece of it. Doctors
Right.
are trained to help and to cure and to keep
Right.
working, and to find hope. And so it's a tough conversation for them to have too. So most of our referrals that come into hospice, and you were asking a little bit about the kind of work that we do and whether we do it in inpatient and outpatient. I guess outpatient's not the right word, but in-home. So today, for example, I looked at our census when I came in this morning. We have about 95 people on service today. 5 of them are in our inpatient unit. 90 of them are out somewhere in the community spread across 6 counties.
Wow.
About a third of those are in nursing facilities. Everybody else is in their home, spread across 6 counties. So we have a team of nurses and social workers and chaplains get in cars in the morning and poof, out they go. And we don't see them till the end of the day, if at all, because they're out doing that work in homes. And so, it's a very high volume, big footprint service that we provide across Northwest Indiana. So, to your question about how do they get into this, and how do they make these choices? Every one of those decisions is a very, very personal, deep discussion with that patient, with their caregivers, with their physicians. There comes a point when somebody gets to, a point in their illness when they have a terminal illness and they're not getting any further with any sort of curative measures, that some decisions need to be made. Are we really going to be focused on putting people through these processes, or are we going to be thinking more about quality of life at this point? And so, physicians will have conversations with caretakers. Many times it's the person themselves that just says, look, I just want to be comfortable. I want to be happy. I want these tubes out of me. Let's please talk about just comfort care at that point. So what we think about when we think about those decisions and we think about that whole process, I think one of the biggest stigmas that you'll hear with hospice care, and this is any hospice across the country, is that people wait way too long to commit to hospice or to make that decision. And we all understand why, right?
right.
I mean, it's a
Of
tough thing
course.
to do, but people wait way too long to make that decision. Hospice is not about the last days. What we talk about at the VNA is hospice is about the best days, and preserving those best days and giving families more time, giving families time, to reconnect, and we can take the burden off the families of being caregivers. Let us do that for you.
Right.
Let us be that. You can be a husband and
And
a
what
wife
a beautiful
again.
gift to give somebody.
Absolutely.
It really is.
And then again to go back and start really thinking about celebrating these best days instead of the last days.
Right.
And when you do that, and when you really implement a model like that, you get more of those best days. So what we really try to do, and this is just hospice in general around the country, is that we really try to get people to engage earlier in that, and not think about it as, oh gosh, if I go into hospice, I'm throwing in the towel, that's it, I only have days remaining. It's not that. We've had people on hospice for years. We've had people on hospice for 1 or 2 years. We've had people on hospice for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Everything that we just talked about, like whether that was the Phoenix Center, the Meals on Wheels program, the Lifeline program, everything that we talk about at the VNA is about dignity and preserving choice, for people. That you are in control of your life, you are in control of these decisions, and everything that we talk about this is about the life trajectory, right? And trying to keep people as independent as long as we can, keeping them in control of the decisions that they're making about their life and their health care, and empowering them. So that's what we think about a lot when we talk about this.
I love that.
Just a couple of questions. What is your capacity at the center, and do you have a capacity for outbound, the home care?
Well, yeah, it's sort of all sort of depends on
Yeah.
workforce, right?
Right, exactly.
But our capacity at the center, we have 14 beds
All right.
at our center. We looked at the demand and the community size and the footprint that we serve. Most centers, except unless you're like in a big metropolitan area like a Chicago or New York, most centers are going to be anywhere between like 6 and 8 up to maybe 10 beds. So our building actually has 20 beds in it. We have 14 that are certified at this point for hospice care,
Right.
and then we use the other part of that building for some other things right now. But
Like
it
when
is,
you work too hard and need a nap.
wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't that be great?
Right?
But so we are still actually the biggest hospice center, inpatient center in the state of Indiana, of the
Wow.
7 that are remaining. So it's quite a gem to have in Porter County.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
So we have 14 beds, so we can go up to 14. We've been to that number a couple of times in the last year, but generally our demand and what the community has told us that it needs, just through the demand that comes through, is anywhere between 6 and 8 beds.
Okay.
So that's sort of where we hover. And then in terms of the outpatient, we've gone up to almost 120 patients of having on our caseload. I think that the demand for our service is well beyond that.
Sure.
And again, it kind of goes into, like, if we can overcome some of that stigma, if we can reduce some of the bottlenecks to get into care, if we can educate the greater community and the providers more on the benefits of hospice, I think our demand, and when you look at the population that we serve, and when you look at factor in like what the national prevalence rates are for who would need hospice, we're probably around 160 people is probably what our need and the demand is. So that's one thing, from my side, on the business side of all of this, is how do we build up the capacity? How do we build up the workforce? How do we get people trained up? How do we bring in all these volunteers to come in to meet that demand? So that's why I love these opportunities to talk to people about that, because the demand is there. We just have to, we can't make our problems the community's problem with workforce. We just have to overcome it.
Right.
Now, what kind of training does somebody have to go through if they want to be a volunteer?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we have several different layers and tiers of volunteers. Folks that like volunteer in our Meals on Wheels program, for example, that's pretty easy to get somebody in, get them trained up on some just like basic food handling stuff, and and how to run the routes, and and all that sort of stuff. So that's pretty easy. It gets a little bit more complicated when people want to volunteer in the hospice program, or especially when they want to go into the homes and work with patients directly. We are credentialed under ACHC, which is our Medicare deeming authority that the feds send in to make sure that we do everything that we say that we're doing. And they have standards that we have to meet for not only all of our staff, but our volunteers too. So our volunteers have to meet some of the same standards, a lot of the same standards that our staff has to meet on training, bloodborne pathogens, all of that stuff. So we put them through the ringer pretty good on how to get them trained up, but then they feel more confident about going out and working with the patients as well.
Is
Well,
that
you
what they
want to.
refer to as the accreditation process?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, I just-
root canal, they also call that too.
Yeah,
a process like that.
It's meant by, by professionals that conduct it are supposed to be professionals that serve that industry at one
Yeah.
type or another.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm kidding. It's
No,
a great
no,
process.
yeah.
We just went through it. We just got our 3-year accreditation this last August.
awesome. Yeah.
We were really happy about that.
Sure.
We got really high, good remarks and everything from our review team that came through. So we have our 3-year accreditation again in place. And so it's a good process to go through, because it holds your feet to the fire. It sets some standards, that are across the country, everybody can be judged against and compare each other with. So it's a good process.
I keep on hearing about these massive ring binders in the process. Do those still exist?
Yes. Even though we've gone to electronic medical
Oh, sure.
records and everybody does
Well.
I don't see any in here. You guys are totally, virtual in here. But yeah, I think that's a nurse's thing. I think nurses love to have a 3-ring
Big
binder
ring.
near
So
them
they
at all
kept that
times.
process during the accreditation.
Yeah.
They have to have these big. In fact, I think they have them specially ordered. I've never seen a big, huge ring.
I'll bet you we have 1,000 of them in our
Yeah.
building.
Oh.
Yeah. Those are still around. Yeah.
Oh man.
Now, if somebody wants to get involved in volunteering, how do they do that?
Well, yeah, you can look us up on our website. That's probably the easiest way. You can go in, you can do some research and look at the different programs that we have. And that's, on www. Do people still say that?
Oh, yeah.
Or do we just say VNA?
Well, I mean, you can say whatever you
Yeah,
want.
usually, you could
I think
just
it just
drop
sort
the
of assumes
www.
it, right?
Unless
Right.
you're David Letterman.
Right. It's VNA NWI.org. You can go on there, and you can register online for volunteer opportunities. You can request more information. There's the different phone numbers for the different kinds of programs that you would want to explore and look at.
Wonderful.
But yeah, just go onto our website, and there's all kinds of opportunities there for you to check out.
Nice.
Now, one key thing, especially for you as a CEO, I want to ask about is fundraising.
Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't sustain on its own, evidently.
I wouldn't think so.
So, what are your mechanisms for fundraising? Are there events? What companies do you support the VNA? Tell us a bit about those.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting thing to bring up to talk about fundraising, because one thing that I learned about is, as we talked about a little bit earlier, I've been in this role for just over a year now as the CEO of the VNA. And I had to learn a lot about hospice when I came in. I've worked in healthcare for 30 years. The last 10 years I worked in community health centers, which are federally qualified health centers in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Lexington, Kentucky. I was the CEO of health centers down there, working in primary care. And so then coming over to hospice, there's been a little bit of a learning curve even with this, even though it's healthcare. It's always kind of been like put in the corner, in this little spooky corner of healthcare, where those of us in primary care and hospitals never really thought much about hospice. But it really is an important piece of healthcare.
Sure it is.
The biggest thing that I've learned about hospice in my first year of doing this is that it's become commoditized. There are only 3, maybe 4 nonprofit hospices left in Northwest Indiana. There are over 50 hospices in operation in this area, and 47, 46 of those are, whatever that number is, are private for-profit. So they have a different business model than we have. And I'm not here to say one bad thing about anybody else that does hospice. They just have a different way of going about how they do their business, and who their targets are and how they operate. And the people that provide the services, the nurses, and they're all held to the same standards as we are too, about having nurses, chaplains, social workers, and this workforce. Every one of those people are great people that do this work. But the world has shifted. Hospice has only been around in the United States since the mid-1970s. That was another thing I was surprised to learn. It just seems like it's one of those things that's been around for a long time.
Well, you would think so. When you said 50 years, I was like, wow, 50 years. And then you said it started in 1970, and I went, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
I was in junior high not that long ago.
But hospice came to the United States in 1974. This is still new.
Oh, yeah.
Medicine's been around for thousands of years. Hospitals have been around for hundreds of, if not, longer than that.
Sure.
So hospice is still the new kid on the block. And it was started, and it was primarily run through the 70s and in the mid-80s by nonprofits. That they were really supported by, volunteers in the communities and nurses and chaplains, people that kind of came together, all these do-gooders that came together to run these hospice programs. That has wildly shifted now as we come into 2020, that over 80% of the hospices in this country now are run by private for-profit corporations. And so there's studies out there that show that now hospice has become the most profitable sector of the healthcare market because of the business models that are put into place.
Well, and because all the baby boomers are getting to that
that's
point
a big
too.
part of it.
That is a big part.
But the other side of that is that because the nonprofits we are the ones that are still running those inpatient units. Those are really expensive. None of the private for-profits want to get into that business because they're really expensive to run. A lot of the private for-profits don't want to do a lot of that home care because that's really expensive. I just told you we have, 13, 15 nurses, chaplains, social workers, and aides that I put into cars every day, and I have to pay 50-some cents a mile and send them out across 6 counties. That's a lot of windshield time and driving time, right? To go see those, 60-some people that we have in their private homes. So a lot of them in those business models, they don't want to do that piece of it. They like to focus on nursing homes, and that's a great business model. It works. We still do some of that too, but the nonprofits are really struggling in that world because nobody goes and asks, one of the private for-profits, hey, how much money do you spend on marketing? How much money do you have in administrative cost? We as a nonprofit, we have to be very mindful of that. So I think your fundraising question is a very fair question, and it's a good one to ask because we can't do this without community support.
Absolutely.
We can't run our inpatient unit. We can't run this Phoenix Center, which we ask nothing from our families to participate in that. They don't pay a dime to come to that program. We run the Meals on Wheels program. We run the Lifeline program. If people can't afford those services, we have a sliding fee scale for them, or we put them on charity care. One of the things that I brought to show you today is that the VNA in 2019 subsidized $1.2 million of care for our community on a $6 million budget. That's a big piece.
That is a big chunk,
So
absolutely.
fundraising is very, very important.
Of course it
And
is.
so getting the buy-in from the community. I always say when I talk to community groups, this is your VNA. This is not my VNA. This is not our board's VNA. It's not Laura's VNA. This is your VNA because you've said that this is an important resource in the community. You've said that it's important for us to keep this inpatient unit there because so many families, tens of thousands of families have come through our services in these 50 years. And when you come to our inpatient center, we have this beautiful garden area in the back and families buy bricks in remembrance. Thousands of names out there, and people still come back to see these bricks and the plaques. So it's a place of remembrance, and so it's really important to the community that we maintain this really valuable resource.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we worked with some other non-for-profits that have, like Cancer Resource
Yeah.
Center, and they put out of Munster. They do phenomenal.
Yeah,
work.
absolutely.
A beautiful
Yes.
facility, and that's one thing I could remember about. Just to put a plug in for the center out in Valparaiso, I knew one person that went through it. No, actually two. The one person was a nurse, which kind of speaks for itself.
Right.
When you enter the room, it doesn't feel hospitalish. If that's a word.
Yeah,
It's like you
It's
like
not
walked
sterile
into
and
this
icky,
living
it's
area.
Right, yep.
beautiful.
And we talked about encouraging. They had all the pictures of their life up or surrounding their bed, and that was encouraged in family. And you visit with them, and you feel like you're in a living room visiting with them.
Well, we just completed almost $300,000 in renovations on the center. The center is almost 20 years old. I think it's 19 years old this year, and it aged.
Sure.
We all age,
don't we
right?
all? Yes,
So
exactly.
we all could use a $300,000 renovation after 20 years.
Yes. Ooh.
So,
Facelift.
So we just completed this big renovation. We did 3 years of fundraisers. We have an annual gala that we called our Last Chance for White Pants that we did out at the Blue Chip, and so we raised almost $300,000 over these 3 years.
wonderful.
And so we just completely renovated the center, and we made it more so like what you just described,
Yes.
because we took feedback from the families, we took feedback from our volunteers about how do we make this even more livable for you, because the family spent a lot of time there. So we changed the flooring, we brought in new furniture, we brought in new technology, new coats, reconfigured the rooms and everything. So if you get the chance, if anybody out there is that wants to come see it, please let me know. I'd love to bring you over and give you a tour and show you.
Show it off.
One cool thing.
We like to do an on-site show there.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you come out.
That'd be great.
We love doing that stuff. Now, going to talk about the gala,
Yeah.
when is that normally? What time of the year it is?
Well, this year it's going to be August.
Looking.
Yeah,
August.
so it's going to be August 22nd. And it's
Awesome.
not going to be the last chance for white pants. You're free to wear white pants if you want, but this year we're doing it as a 70s theme because, again, we were founded in 1970.
yeah.
So this is going to be a 1970. Absolutely.
We're 70s child.
Yep.
Yeah, we're,
Disco time, baby.
yeah.
We're going to have Dick Diamond and the Dusters are going to be the entertainment. So, we're going to do it at the Avalon Banquet Center in Hobart. And so everybody gets to dress in their favorite 70s garb and come out and have so much fun. So, that's
it's
going
closer
to
to us. So
be August 22nd. Yeah.
All right. Well, let us know what we can do to help out. We'd love to help promote it, and
Absolutely.
get involved.
Come out and
Definitely
dance.
promote it.
Yeah,
If we're in
absolutely.
town,
We love
we will
getting
definitely do that.
Yeah, Bill and Kelly don't get all swagged up very often.
Yep.
Kelly does have other things she wears other than her coffee T-shirts.
All right.
Well,
Yep.
not many, because I have
Not
a lot
many.
of coffee
In fact,
shirts.
chances are she will put it over her dress.
Yes,
Right.
I
Take
would.
formal.
Well, maybe we could find a 70s coffee shirt for
There we
you or
go.
something.
There you
yeah.
go.
So,
Yeah.
one other cool thing that I wanted to mention that we're adding this year, we're doing our inaugural, because you never say first annual, right?
Right.
So you say inaugural. We're having our inaugural Hops for Hospice. And so we're going to do a brew fest, and
Oh,
that's going
yeah,
to be on
you are.
July 11th out at the Porter County Expo Center.
All
Man,
right.
I tell you what, something about Brewfest, no matter what, you put a couple of beers out there, people will come from all over.
Right.
I tell you.
Oh, how wonderful.
Well, that's all my friends, and folks that I kind of grew up with. They said, "Well, that's no surprise. Frank was at the VNA, so there's a brew fest coming there now." So surprised that it took a year to get into place, but yeah. So we're really excited about that. One of the things, one of our challenges, and again, I think this is probably pretty typical of all nonprofit hospices around the country, is that we're getting older. The folks that have been around with us for 30, 40, 50 years, we need to find ways to engage the next generation.
Sure.
And so looking for ways to engage different demographics and get people, find opportunities to educate people on all these things that we do. So that's really important for us. So that's going to be a fun event for us.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll get all this stuff.
I'll leave this for you.
Yeah, that'd be
Yes,
great.
please.
I'll get that put up on the posting.
Because
and
I
I'll,
need to get my calendar out and start
yeah.
marking some
Yeah,
stuff.
fun stuff.
The VNA has a Facebook page, right?
We do,
And
yep.
so your events set up as events there?
They are.
So
You can buy tickets right online. We've
Perfect.
come into the 2000s now, so
Yes.
you can just buy tickets for all of these events
you
online.
can go right on that www. And
There it is.
That's right.
Oh, that's great. So we'll make sure that's up when we post the video. So any other new things coming up this year? Any plans this year other than what you told us about?
We're completing some strategic planning right now, which we're really excited about. We're coming up with a new vision statement. We're coming up with a new mission statement.
Nice.
Good set of values. We've been working on that for a couple of months now. That will be brought out to our board, and it's really going to lay the path for us and kind of steer us for these 50 years forward. It's really the first step towards that. So we're really excited about that. And then again, all these events that are coming up over this next year, finding ways to engage, educate, advocate, be ambassadors, not just for the VNA, but for hospice in general, and just for the like I said, the life trajectory of services that we provide, and trying to keep people as independent, as in control, and preserving their dignity for as long as we can. So we'll take every opportunity we can to talk about that and to find ways for people to get involved. We've gone through some expansion in this last couple of years. In this last year, too, we've opened up an office in LaPorte, and we've opened an office in Crown Point.
Oh, great.
So we're really excited about getting both of those offices really ramped up and fully operational this next couple of months. Too.
So those satellite offices are for in-home care kind of hubs, if you will.
Yeah, to better
Yeah.
serve the number of hospitals that are around.
Sure.
All the hospitals,
It's a great idea.
are full. There's a lot of demand for the hospitals, and so
Yeah.
it's a better way for us to better serve those hospitals too, and those communities.
that.
So yeah, we're really excited about being able to serve our families even better by having staff even more
Localized.
localized.
Yeah.
It's a good word. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, this has been absolutely very informative and
Absolutely.
exciting. You use that word, I hate to see, but it's exciting
Yeah,
to
it
know
is.
It
It
is
is.
that there
exciting.
are services for these families. And I just think back to when my dad had ALS, what our family went through.
Right. Yep.
And to know that now there's different options, that someone who has a terminal ailment can have help in
Absolutely.
those, because that is so
And their
key.
family can
Their
have help,
family,
and that's
yes.
the thing,
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard on everybody, but
Mhm.
Well,
'Cause
one service I did program. Sorry to interrupt. One
Oh,
program
no, go
that I
ahead.
didn't mention that I want to make sure that I
Oh,
mention
yes,
is
please.
palliative care. That's sort of the hot word in healthcare right now.
Yeah.
Is everybody says, "Well, we do palliative care." We actually have a palliative care program with a palliative certified nurse practitioner running this program. And the difference between hospice and palliative care, a lot of folks that will get involved in palliative care have a terminal illness, a very serious illness. It doesn't have to be terminal, but a very serious illness that's impacting their quality of life. But they're still seeking some sort of curative measures, or that they're going through a lot to remain independent. So we have a palliative care certified nurse practitioner. We're building in all kinds of resources around that to help
Oh,
people stay as
great.
independent as we can. So palliative care is another program that we're launching right now too. I think we have almost 40 people in that program, in our palliative care program, that we're looking to build and form partnerships with the community health centers and the hospitals on all of that too. So we're really excited about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
should be.
again, palliative care is something that's kind of a step back from hospice. Someone that doesn't want
Right.
all that
Right.
engagement,
It's another option.
just wants to go at it
Right.
and
Live your
whatever
best
nature
life.
has. For
Yeah,
them. So, yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I tell you, I appreciate you coming out and
Absolutely.
going to our new studio, first of all.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
terrific.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
We'll have to have you out again. Well, this
Yeah.
is what we do is try to provide a platform for nonprofits like the VNA,
Well, we appreciate it.
Food Bank, and to provide a way that they can elevate. We never charge a non-for-profit for coming
Mm-hmm.
on. We feel that that's what we do, and make sure that they're the front page news as opposed to in the
Fifth page,
section
one
3
little
in the
inch.
last section of the paper. But so that's what we do, and we're glad that you came on, and,
thank
and
you.
hopefully we can
Yes,
get
thank you
this
so much.
information out, and our listeners and viewers will know a little bit more about VNA now.
Yeah, that's
Appreciate
great.
it.
Get
Yeah,
ready
thank
for
you.
a 70s theme groovy.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I can't wait.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. So
Periodically, Kelly and I. So, Bob, we want to tell you how much we appreciate you coming out and sharing all the information about the VNA and things that are happening, your events, and we'll put those on up with the video.
And please keep us
Be great.
informed of new things and
Absolutely.
updates and everything that goes on, because
yeah,
we're
absolutely.
interested.
This list is certainly not complete. We're looking at maybe a benefit concert sometime around Christmas.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
We'll get some more details out about
Yeah.
that. We're working on that right now.
Yeah.
So there's lots of stuff coming up, and I really appreciate you having me, and I really appreciate what you do for the nonprofit
Oh, thanks.
sector across this community. The nonprofits play a really, really important role in quality of life and services for people that may not otherwise be able to provide
Sure.
or afford the wealth of different kinds of services that the nonprofits provide. So what you're
Yes.
doing is really appreciated
Oh,
and really
thanks.
needed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, in our eyes is, you all have a mission to feed people, house people, and care for them. And if we can provide a service that lets you advertise to the public without taking dollars away from those missions,
We're all
so
about
much the
that.
better.
Yes.
Well, thank
That's
you.
what we do.
Thanks.
And that's our worry, to figure out how to get it done. But nonetheless, Bob, thanks much, and we look forward to. In fact, you had us at Brewfest, and
Yeah, right.
that we're
Yeah.
like, we just
Exactly.
so we just
You
tuned
dangled
out.
that
Everything
carrot
else
and
you
we
said,
grabbed
we're
it.
like, oh, what are those? Let's get those on the
Yeah.
calendar. No, all kidding aside, we're looking forward to those
Yes.
Great.
and doing whatever we can, let people know about them. Well, thanks much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll say goodbye for now.
Bye, everybody.
This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Tiger Plumbing. Whether you need to replace a faucet, overhaul your sump pump, or desludge your drains, call Tiger Plumbing. In today's world, knowing who's at your door is important. Tiger Plumbing sends you your technician's photo, estimated time of arrival, and a little bit about him or her. Hey, Sam likes fishing and camping. Cool.